Okay, moving along to word study, we have two links, vocabulary and spelling pretest. And so when I click on vocabulary, you'll see the three vocabulary words that we are going to study will pop up. And it's not just the words, but it's always the word and some kind of visual that represents that word. This helps the students identify it visually as well, so they have something to remember it by. Moving back, spelling pretest. This just gives me a space to make sure that I give the spelling pretest. Perhaps if I use a worksheet that looks just like this, I can refer to make sure you put your name at the top and number correct at the bottom, that kind of thing. So it's a great way to show them what they're looking at on the big screen. Then we move down to reading, and the story selection for this week is high-tech bullies. So I use this as a placeholder to build some background knowledge around what they know about bullying. Have they ever been bullied? Why is bullying a bad thing? Why would we have a no bully zone? What does that mean? And so I have instructions on where they need to turn in the textbook. Then we move down to language arts, and language arts will always include a daily writing and daily language lesson. So for daily writing, today you're going to pretend you're a politician running for office, write an email to the teachers in your school reminding and encouraging them to vote. And I like this quick write because it's short, it's something that they can do if you're in a one-to-one situation. Of course they can type out their email. They're practicing their keyboarding skills, which is also a technology skill that they need. But you could do a little bit more with this. When they're finished, what could they do with that writing? Well, maybe they can create a poster that hangs in the staff lounge. Or maybe they can work together in groups and come up with ways to advocate to teachers that they need to make sure that they vote. So there's a lot of room for creativity in your lesson design with this particular lesson. The textbook doesn't give you more to do with this. It just gives you kind of the essential, here's the writing prompt. But you could take this a step further. And then we have the daily language, which in this case we're working on past tense verbs. So I have a definition of a past tense verb, tells about an action that has already happened. And like I said, I love visuals. So you see a child jumping in the air, and we have jump to jumped. So you have the ed. What did the boy do? The boy jumped. And so this just gives you a lot of room for explanation and conversation, allows students to start communicating and thinking a little more critically about the language that they use and what types of language that they're using, what are the parts of speech, and what's the grammar involved. And then finally, a quick check. And a quick check is really just an opportunity for you to have the students work together and collaborate so that they can check for understanding. So whether it's you want them to play a quick game to see how they retain the information or do another think, pair, share, a quick check is really an opportunity for you to make sure that they got it. And then that's how the week would flow. When it comes to language arts. And of course, if I wanted, I could include, a few more rows at the bottom, maybe one for science and math and other subjects that I'm going to teach. But I made just kind of a bare bones presentation for you, and I actually have this as a separate PowerPoint, and I can email that when I email this presentation to you, so that way you have something to work with if you want to modify it and make it your own. Okay, so the next thing I want to share with you is about academic discourse. And the next couple slides are from Kate Kinsella. She's a leading authority on academic language and vocabulary with students, especially EL students. So two things. She's looking at it from the perspective of the student who is reporting or speaking to the audience, and then she's looking at also how the audience and the students in the audience would behave, and what are they doing as they're listening. They're actively listening. They shouldn't be passively listening. So we'll take a look at the first two bullet points. The first bullet point says for the speaker, for the student who's going to be speaking, that they should be using their public voice. And what does that mean? It means to speak twice as slow, but 3 times as loud than their conversation voice. So this is something that you could have them practice together, maybe in partners or in a group. Maybe give them some writing prompts before they actually try this out in class. Have them try it out in a small group. Second thing that she says a speaker should do is use the sentence frame to report their idea, and that's something that the teacher would provide. So I'm going to share an example of that with you today as well. Now for the audience member, if you're the audience member, they should be looking at and listening attentively to the reporter. So that tells the students who are in the audience it's not a time to just snooze and kick back and not pay attention, but you need to be an active listener, as well as recording to classmates' names and ideas. And so this really gives them a purpose. As they're listening, they're going to need to actually write down some things that they heard so that they can then, final point, listen for similarities and compare ideas. And this would be a great way to then lead into more discussion. The next thing that Kate Kinsella says about academic language and discourse is to distinguish between everyday English, and academic English. So she has some really great examples here. So mine's the same, or me too. Instead of saying that out loud, the students can practice saying, my idea is similar to Monica's, or I agree with John, or my idea builds upon Eric's idea. And so it gives them somewhere to go with what they're thinking and how they want to say it. So let's take a look at an example here. On my slide, I have a sentence starter, and the sentence is, the problem in this selection is blank, and some of the possible solutions are. And so what I would do is have the student who is going to be speaking, you see there's a little speaker here so they understand the speaker says this. I'd have this on the screen, and the student would be able to see that on the screen, and then when it's their turn to report to the class, they would stand up and say this sentence but fill in the blanks. And this is also taken directly out of the same weekly lesson within the textbook. So I'm not like making up anything that you haven't already seen or you don't have access to. I'm just showing you new ways of putting it into your lessons. Now what the students would be doing, and this is the students who are listening in the audience, so you see this student here, he's sitting down with his pencil in his hand and his notebook open, and he's ready to take notes, and he's listening attentively. And so students do in the audience is they look and listen attentively, and then they're going to record 2 classmates' names and ideas. So this is always on the screen, and it's something that the kids can see and not forget. Okay, so that is academic discourse.